good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Arcade Cabinet, where we talk about retro video games, video game consoles, and the video games we love, and also touch on the new latest and greatest. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have my co-host Bill Tindo, Sharon, and then Gunner here on the Arcade Cabinet. So, Sharon, since you were the lucky guy for the to select the topic this week, I'll let you go ahead and let people know what we're talking about and start it off.
All right. Well, the topic that we chose is the first video game you ever played. I thought that was really cool because nobody ever forgets that first time you ever played a video game. The first time I played one was, I want to say, are you there?
Yeah, hear you.
Okay. The first time I ever played one was in about 1988 in Biloxi. We had Sears Roebuck, and it was a Nintendo setup, and all the kids were crowding around, and it was Super Mario Bros. That was the first time I'd ever gotten one. Got hooked on it. Asked my mom for it. I'd asked for a Nintendo several years before that, but that 1988 September 17th birthday, it was the best birthday ever. I had my own Nintendo, and man, I played that and played it. I dominated the TV. You know what I mean? That was the first time I'd ever done it. That was my game. And that one, Duck Hunt came with it, but I was never really big on Duck Hunt. The screen didn't move. It's just like the ducks would move, and it was cool for what it was. Mario Bros. It was epic. I loved it. What about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say about Mario Brothers is such an iconic game that it made an impression on everybody. I mean, like that game made a huger impression on probably everybody in the world than any other single game ever did. My cousins and I used to all gather around one little 19-inch TV and take turns playing Mario, and we were doing speed runs before there was a word for it. Who could get through this level of pressure? And everybody was obsessed with that because it's such an iconic game.
It really is.
I agree 100% with that. Mario Bros has impacted anyone who's ever played any video game knows what Mario is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I got one for you guys. So it's Super Mario Brothers, but I had the original Mario Brothers. My mom bought me a whole bunch of games when I first got my Nintendo, and I remember when she bought the Nintendo, but I was the one that had Rob the Robot and Gyromite. I used to cheat on Gyromite. I didn't understand Gyromite. Even to this day, I don't understand Gyromite. But I had the original Mario Brothers where you played as Luigi and Mario. It's hard to explain, but I had she bought me like 20 games, and that was one of them, the original Mario. But I remember seeing Super Mario Brothers. I don't think my Nintendo it came with Duck Hunt and it came with Gyromite. It didn't come with Super Mario Brothers. But I remember friends that had Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. I remember coming to your house and you had him around the robot.
Yeah, he's in the attic. He's still around.
I want to get one of those. I want to get one of those Nintendo.
Mark, I think if you had Rob the Robot, we lived in a different part of town, man, because people in my part of town couldn't afford no Rob the Robot, dude.
Yeah, my mom bought it, man. It was a surprise. I remember when she bought my Nintendo, and it came with the robot, it came with Gyromite, it came with the gun. I mean, it must have been...
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, the pack-out thing. And then that following Christmas, I got she bought some other games. I remember having Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! But my first video game I played, my grandfather had an Atari. So we played like the airplane, the biplane games, the tank game.
Ooh, I like River Raid on the Atari 2600 is one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
Yeah, dang.
And it was the controller with the circle and it had the numbers on it. It looked like a remote, remote control with the wire on it. Yeah, so my first experience was with I don't know which Atari it was, but it had like...
That actually sounds like the 5200.
Yeah.
That's probably what it was.
But Go ahead, Sharon.
No, I was thinking it sounded like a ColecoVision. See, I never had those. I started with Nintendo. My cousins, they had Atari. They had like the game Asteroid and Combat, Pitfall. I played those a little bit. And I remember I used to hold the controller the wrong way, but that red button had to go like in a upper right or upper left corner. I used to have like down the bottom, and the guy would be going all the wrong way and everything. And that was a challenge to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back when they were still trying to figure out kind of a standard layout for controllers that people could use. Because back then you had joysticks, you had turn knobs, you had number pads, you had buttons everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So they come
All
out
sorts
with
of
that everybody felt comfortable using. They were still kind of feeling it out.
right,
Yeah.
for sure.
And Mark, back to your, you were talking about the original Mario Brothers. I never played the original Mario except in an arcade, with the exception of in the mini games on Super Mario 3, you could play levels occasionally of Mario Brothers. And I remember banging out whoever was playing Luigi.
I have.
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was just PAL back then. You didn't play anything else. It wasn't like the level and the board and everything back then.
Right. That was pretty much it for back then.
Right. And I got that on the Atari 2600, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong was also put
Yeah,
out by
I have
Nintendo.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have
Donkey
the
Kong.
OG Donkey Kong, but I do have Donkey Kong Jr.
I used to play that.
I still have Donkey Kong for my Atari 2600, and just this past week I picked up Donkey Kong Country.
Oh,
Complete.
that's a way
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was
super-
happy about that one. I'm usually not big on boxes, but
Right.
good deal. I had to get it.
I remember when Country dropped. Oh man, that's another subject for another day. But I remember that one. I still have that game. That was a good one. And they had changed the graphic. They didn't change the graphic. It's some kind of FX chip or something that they were using. And when we saw we advertised that, we thought we had to buy a whole other Nintendo, but we didn't. It was a super chip that they had.
Yeah, the FX chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used Star Fox.
It was used for Star Fox. That was actually a really big deal at the time.
Yeah.
Rare made this, the same company that made Banjo Kazooie,
Games, yeah.
Yep.
Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
and they kind of invented, like, it was Super Nintendo, but at the end of the life cycle, so that 3D wasn't there yet, so they invented 2.5D, which
Yeah.
is being used now in kind of the retro revival type game.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that was like pre-rendered graphics, right? The clay
Yeah.
pre-rendered. Because they did that, and that was that Killer Instinct. That was a bad game. I
Oh,
like that.
yeah. I played that.
Man, every company had to have a fighting game back.
Yeah.
Killer Instinct.
Speaking of which, do you guys remember the games they had? Like I'm thinking about pizza that were kind of like cabinets. You remember
Yeah.
that? It was kind of like
Yeah.
slime here and all that.
My
Yeah.
goal is to one day own the Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet. They
Yeah,
used to have,
that'd be really cool.
my kids asked me to take them to the arcade one time, and I walked in and they're playing all these games, and I see over in the corner the Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet like they had at Pizza Hut. I sit down with 50 Cent, racked up the high score. I hadn't played that game in 15 years. We moved from the coast to New York 3 years after that, and I still had the high score, and I did it with 50 Cent.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn. That's really cool.
I wish this is back.
Yeah.
But who goes to arcades now? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys remember on the weekend it was like the biggest thing that your
Right.
parents drop you off at the arcade with a whole bunch of money and just sit there for like hours, man. I don't even know if kids do arcades anymore. Like I haven't seen an arcade in forever.
They have the one that they use the nickels for. They call it an applecade, but it's like that. You go in and buy a bunch of nickels, and you can go and spend the whole day there.
We have Margaritaville in Biloxi. Next time you come down, you got to check it out. That's actually really cool. I mean, that's the way they've done that. And we also have Big Play Arcade over in Biloxi. a bowling alley, video games, dance floors, like a bar. They got the works, and they have go karts, they have laser tag. Biloxi really stepped up the game with that arcade over there.
That's way cool. Margarita.
I don't go to Aladdin's Castle.
There's not arcade unless you go down to New York City, but I got a buddy that has a computer repair store that sells used games and systems and such, and he's moving to a bigger space next month, and he's opening an arcade. And I'm really hoping it does well because there's nothing like it in the area. There are no arcades anymore. They're hard to find now, you know? So
unless you got like Dave and Buster's and the main event and stuff like that, but it's arcade mixed with all these other stuff, but not really like a true arcade.
Yeah, I mean, Dave and Buster's is like Chuck E. Cheese for adults.
Yeah, Dave and Buster's. Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Dave and Buster's good. I've always wanted to go and check that out. You know that? I know they have one. I hadn't gotten
Yeah, I've
yet.
never been there either, actually.
I will say when I the video games is because I mean when Sharon brought up the topic, I was thinking about what are the first arcade games I remember. I used to summertimes my mom used to take us to we used to do like summer camps at the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA. They have like our arcades. Like I remember Defender, Galaga. The first time I saw Dragon's Lair and Punch Out, I didn't understand Dragon's Lair. But
Dragon's Lair was a complex one for sure.
I get it. I can play Dragon's Lair. It was complicated at first, but I have it on my Xbox 60. I like to go back and buy all these old arcade games like Galaga. I have that, the Double Dragons, Miss Pac-Man, the Altered Beast games. I have all those games in my Xbox 360, and I also have some of them in my PlayStation Classics like Afterburner, Moonwalker.
Afterburner, good one.
Willow video game. Man, I mean, I have a lot. I love them.
Speaking of Afterburner, it'd be cool to have like the Afterburner with the thing that moves. I always thought that was cool.
Oh yeah.
The arcade cabinet for Afterburner.
Yeah.
That was really awesome.
Yeah.
Especially when you were a kid and you're like, see that, you're like, oh my god.
The first time I'd ever played that was we used to have Showbiz Pizza Place on Courthouse Road. And we walked in there it was a Friday or Saturday night, and they had that cabinet up in there, and you got in, you put your quarter in, and it just moved all around. It's like it was really neat. But yeah, that was the only time I'd ever seen that. So bad with that. There was a Ridge Racer in Aladdin's Castle. PlayStation 2 came out. They had taken a movie screen and they blacked the room out, like a little small portion of the room, and you were able to play like Ridge Racer Part 2 when they come out on PlayStation 2 back in about 2000.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So
that's
I'm
cool.
gonna move into the first game I ever really played, and that was Dragon Quest for NES.
Oh, yeah.
Much popular in Japan, like it's super popular there. It's known as Dragon Warrior. I didn't know until I was much older that all the artwork design was done by Akira Toriyama, which is the creator of Dragon Quest. Now, if you know that now, you can look back at it and say, "Oh yeah, he definitely." But I actually, y'all might find this strange, but the first place I ever played that was at my grandmother's house.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Because my grandmother was a gamer. She passed away last year at like 90 years old with a full NES collection and was playing up until weeks before she passed. My grandma loved
That's
Nintendo.
awesome.
So the first time I ever played Dragon Quest, I was really into it, and my grandma ended up buying it for me right after that, and we lived about an hour away. So the great thing about Dragon Quest for me with my grandmother was very much into it. We would actually call each other on the phone, and I'd say, "Hey, Momo, I found this over here by these mountains," and she'd tell me, "Well, I found this over here." So we'd help each other out all the way through the game. But before that, I'd seen games, but I'd never actually played one, and I was used to visually seeing things like Galaga and Atari 2600 games, and to see Dragon Quest, man, at the time, it was like watching a cartoon that you got to play. It was so bright, colorful. And I thought it had a lot more fine detail than it actually did. Artistically, maybe it doesn't hold up that great, but it's a fantastic series.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
First time I ever played it, I actually didn't know what it was, and I found Dragon Quest 4, I think it was, for the Game Boy Color, and dang man, I was like, this is a really good game, and I actually ended up looking it up, and it was worth something too, like $50-$60.
Wow.
Wow, man, I found this at the thrift store. It's a dope game. I like that. Dragon Quest is a really cool game.
Yeah.
I remember renting that one. I didn't do very well with it, but I do remember Dragon's Quest. Rented it from Satellite Video, and I thought I'd give it a shot, but I sucked at that one. Like, major sucked at it.
That's not a rental game, man, because you're not getting done with that in 3 to 5.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where mine comes in. I remember one of the first games I ever played, I actually rented from a Blockbuster, and it was the first Crash Bandicoot game on the PlayStation 1. I remember playing it with my parents when I was a kid, and I remember the first level clear as day, where there's those holes in the ground, and you have to jump in the holes, and a bunch of these villains, I guess, the enemies spawn, and you have to spin and hit them all before you can jump out of these holes.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember the days of renting games.
Oh yeah,
Video store, man, that's crazy.
I actually rented the Sega Genesis before I actually bought it, and then I remember when the Super Nintendo came out. One of my friends, he rented the Super Nintendo with UN Squadron. I was like, dang, it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, yeah! I forgot that you could rent even the console too.
Yeah, I remember renting a Nintendo 64 before I bought one from Lucky's Video over on Waveland Avenue.
Oh, I remember Lucky's Video. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
It had a plastic case bigger than my chest, and I carried that thing all the way home.
I remember a place called KB's where I used
KB
to
Toys.
KB's.
KB Toys.
I used to buy Game Boy games there.
You know, speaking of Lucky's Video, I bought the Power Stone game with Dreamcast in there, and it still has the label on it on the disc.
Yeah, that's
everything. It was Hurricane Katrina, and I still have it.
Know, that's cool as hell. Because let me tell you, a lot of people, like collectors, they say, oh, it devalues the game if it has a Blockbuster stick on it. But I would actually pay more for it. First off, it's a store I'm familiar with.
It's nostalgia.
Second off, it shows that it's authentic, and this game has a history. Like, this is not, I walked into Toys R Us and picked this up off the shelf. No, this game has a history. So I really enjoy that. I don't think store labels on games other than GameStop devalues a game. GameStop does because that's a different.
GameStop puts them in different cases and stuff, and all sorts of things.
Because I think with Blockbuster as well, man, like Blockbuster and all those places.
Yeah, they are.
Do like streaming. They may be a thing of the past too, so that keeps the authenticity.
Right.
I had I have a few movies that I bought from Blockbuster also, and I think I have one that I bought from a movie gallery, and there were another one who put their plastic label on top of the disc, and it says movie gallery. I don't think it was a video game, but I know definitely when I bought Harry Potter and the Prince of Azkaban, I know it's not a game. It had the Blockbuster box, and I still have it.
So, hey Gunnar, did we get to your first game you ever played? Video game you ever played?
Crash Bandicoot was actually one.
No, I actually played through Crash about 6 weeks ago again. I hadn't played it since it had come out, and I played through it about 6 months ago. And you know how it is with games like the new Final Fantasy remake looks like we think we were
that.
That's kind of what
Crash on the PS4.
It's a good look.
Three of them,
but I remembered it in a perfection type situation.
Right.
Actually, first time I played that game was like 2 weeks ago on my PlayStation Classic Mini. That game's pretty fun, man. I like it.
It's a good game. I remember playing the third one though. I made my brother. I actually bought it with some birthday money I got, and we couldn't figure out how to get into the levels. because we would walk up to them and couldn't get in, but it turned out you actually have to jump into the thing that pops up, and we couldn't figure that out. We were like, how it's not working right. We don't know how to do it.
I got a question for you guys. What's the first arcade game you saw and was just like, damn, this is crazy?
I like Metal
I remember
Slug.
back in like 1989, the first time I saw Street Fighter 2, like the 6 buttons, guys like breathing and stuff. I was like, what the hell is this?
It was like that with me for Mortal Kombat. I had been playing arcade games my whole life up until that point, and I was a big fan of Dig Dug, Miss Pac-Man, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
Dig
Dig
Dug.
Dug. I really like Dig Dug.
Mortal Kombat, I was like, holy hell, this is the craziest thing I ever seen. I felt like I was playing a movie.
Yeah,
You know?
I think Mortal Kombat arcades are awesome. Those are a staple arcade machine right there.
For me, it was a toss-up between Street Fighter, Pit Fighter, and Mortal Kombat.
Oh
That
yeah,
was it.
Pit Fighter.
Yeah. Pit Fighter was arcade crazy, man. But when I first saw Street Fighter 2, I was like, wow. And then Mortal Kombat with all the blood and everything. And yeah, that's the on the new revolution with that, with all with the ratings and everything. And I'm actually glad that they did that, because it caters to an older audience. They listen to that video games aren't just for children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with game ratings. I have no issue with it because if I'm buying a game for you, it might look like a little happy game. Say Conker's Bad Fur Day. And that looks like it might be
Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's a crazy one.
So I like the rating system, and I'm fully on board with it. Let's stick on that. Tell me the age group this is supposed to be for and it's suggested for. Help me out a little bit. I might not have played the game.
You guys remember like with Mortal Kombat how Sega Genesis was like, we're gonna have the blood, we're gonna have the fatalities, and Nintendo, what they just have sweat or something like that?
I do remember that was part of the generation where the Genesis was like, they do what Nintendo, and then they have the blood and stuff, and then they're like, oh, Nintendo doesn't have all the graphics.
But I'll tell you what, though, when that Mortal Kombat 2 came around, I bet they slapped that blood in at that time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it hurt the sales for sure. I'm not even going to get into this too heavy because we could do a whole episode on it of, everybody was like, oh, I got a cousin that knows the blood code for Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat, But there's all them little things in games, the rumors, the Triforce is in Ocarina of Time, and it really wasn't. There's a nude code for Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. Like,
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
no, it's not. That's the thing is that it's
Yeah, but there's actually not.
things
It's
that
actually not true.
I thought that the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat was actually better than the Sega version, graphically wise. But the Sega version was the one with that blood and everything. But I tell you what, I had one friend who had the Super Nintendo version, and he wanted blood in that game so bad that he tinted the color of the game, the TV, just so the sweat would be reddish or pinkish or whatever. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy though. Dang.
He tinted the screen
That's a
just so
good
it
story.
I remember Mortal Kombat 2 was pretty bad. I mean, that game was nice.
Oh
Mortal
yeah.
Kombat 2 was
Super
really
Nintendo.
crazy.
Oh, when you could finally play as Reptile?
Oh yeah.
That was a big deal. Reptile just pops out of nowhere in the first one as an opponent, but in the second one, you could play as Reptile.
right.
Yeah.
Man, that was good times back then. Who'd have thought we'd be talking about it like this now,
Yeah, the Mortal Kombats aren't like that now. Those are classics.
Can you
Do they still
imagine?
even?
Can you imagine if Mortal Kombat that they make today came out back then?
That would be
They would shut
insane.
down.
Yeah. If those
It
came
was-
out back then when it was just a Super Nintendo and Sega.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
what's the latest and greatest Mortal Kombat? Do they still make them? I mean, I
I
stopped.
think in Mortal Kombat 11.
yeah, they just had
Yeah.
Yeah. RoboCop is a fighter now. Leatherface is a fighter. Jason's a
Oh
fighter.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger in there. All that.
They also have the whole DC versus Mortal Kombat thing that they did. Now all the DC fight games like that are based off the Mortal Kombat fight engine. So it's like playing Mortal Kombat games with DC characters. So
Right.
when we first got Mortal Kombat versus DCU, I let my sons play it for about a week or two before I played it with them, and then I mopped the floor with them. And I was like, they're like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I've been playing this game for 20 years, just a different character. Like,
Yeah.
that fight engine.
Right.
Right. Look, I got some kids. I got a kid at work right now that thinks he could beat me in Street Fighter. I'm like, all right, John, this game is born. You know, I mean, don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Oh, yeah.
For real. Though.
It's happened before. I'm and you know that you get that kick, and I was like, you gotta get out. I mean, you know, once I get you in the corner with that fireball, that's it.
I got a question for you guys. Do you guys think that the Street Fighters, the other sequels, are better than Street Fighter 2? I always think Street Fighter 2 will always be. That's the.
No.
I think that thing kind of goes back to Street Fighter 2. You know, that's what they keep remaking it. You know,
One of the ones I really liked was Streets of Rage.
Yeah, Streets of Rage was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the that was my favorite over Mortal Kombat. I liked Streets of Rage.
I don't.
Streets of Rage was that Double Dragon for the Sega, basically.
Yeah, Streets of Rage was like Double Dragon now.
Mark, I
Yeah,
don't.
but
In my opinion, when it goes to what they did with Street Fighter, after say Street Fighter 2, they did Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and for me, it kind of maxes out there, and it feels like they've rehashed the same thing another 22 times. They haven't really done anything significant, and it's been 20 years.
Yeah,
can't kill that grass.
I
That's
had,
still a-
I had a game on the PS3 called Virtua Fighter.
Oh, I hate it.
That sucks.
Wasn't that on? That was Sega, right? That was a
Yeah,
Sega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that game. I was like, this one is so bad. It's like
Then
an
Tekken,
off-brand.
then Tekken came out and kind of. I like Tekken over.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tekken's the girl game, man. It's a button
Yeah.
match. So any woman in the world is gonna kick your butt at it because you're trying to find technique and skill, and they just mashing buttons and mop the floor with you.
But I think like the best out of those types was the Dreamcast Soul Calibur. That was pretty bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Soul Calibur's cool. That's a really good game.
Well, but guys, we got 3 minutes left. So anything else you guys want to share before we end this episode of the Arcade Cabinet?
No, I think we're all right. I got a lot of stuff in there. I feel good about that.
Yeah, you know what? Now you guys got me thinking. I bet you Rob is pretty high up there on the
Yeah,
collector's
Yeah.
list.
oh, yeah, he definitely
I
is.
tell you what though, about that ride, they need to create a battery pack for that thing. Because it takes some batteries. God.
Right.
Mark,
yeah, it
that's
goes through 'em.
not like anything. I mean, you could mail it to me. I guess I could scrape together enough postage for it. You know?
Because I'm thinking, what other game did they make besides Gyromite for Rob? I don't think there was.
Stack them.
Oh yeah, Stack
Yeah.
'em. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they only made like
They only made 2 games for it. It was Gyromite and it was a Stackers game, which I never played. But I used to cheat on Gyromite, you know, because I never had Rob. I would take
cheated on Gyromite too.
I would try to play it like with my toes and stuff and open the gates and running through it. It was crazy. Trying to play the game. That's when
Well,
I
it's
robbed Rob.
It was funny when the scientists got squished though, man.
Oh.
Oh.
Like big time. With that Rob robot and it made it mess up and you have to watch the episode. It's funny.
Yeah. Well,
But
ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode of the Arcade Cabinet with myself, Bill Tendo, Gunner, and Sharon. And like I said, you can check us out. We're now on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spreaker. We're also on Deezer. Pretty soon we'll be on iHeartRadio and also on the Nice Media channel, Nice Media Roku channel. So if you have any questions, comments, just let us know what you want us to talk about. And I'm Mark, along with my co-host, signing out on the Arcade Cabinet.
All right.